Before dawn on the Transpantanera Road near Porto Jofre, an on-safari biologist scrolls back through a night's camera trap captures and counts 3 separate jaguars on a single stretch of riverbank. Far north, in flooded forest, a green anaconda the weight of a grown man holds beneath the waterline, waiting on a capybara trail. At a midday bend of the Cuiabá, "10,000 Yacaré caiman line a mudbank, jaws gaped to the heat." This is the Pantanal, the world's largest tropical wetland, 150,000 square kilometers, holding Earth's densest jaguar population. Yet barely 50 years ago, these rivers were emptied for the caiman hide trade, and the cats holding the banks had little to hunt. What follows reads it through 6 chapters. The flooded forest, the bank 3 cats share, the skin decades, the floodplain feeding them, the killing dry season, the river where every jaguar is named. It is not one habitat, but a habitat that breathes. Each wet season the rain falls on the highlands to the north, and months later that same water arrives here, slow and tea-brown, spreading until the flooded ground doubles, in places triples, and the gallery forest becomes an archipelago of treetops. The proof is written on the trunks themselves. A dark waterline stains the bark well above the present surface, the high mark of a flood that has already come and gone and will come again. The camera drops from the canopy to the dark water at the forest floor. In the tannin-dark shallows of a lagoon, a thick coil resolves out of the murk, and only a pair of nostrils breaks the surface. This is the green anaconda, the heaviest snake on Earth, a constrictor that can exceed 90 kilograms and lie for hours without a ripple, waiting at the waterline for a capybara, a caiman, or a wading bird to step within reach. It does not chase, it holds. At the lagoon's edge, a herpetologist wades thigh-deep through the warm water, headphones on, an antenna raised above the floating weed, turning slowly as a faint electronic pulse quickens in the receiver. The signal belongs to a female fitted months earlier with a small transmitter, and the clicking tightens as the researcher closes on a half-drowned log where she lies basking, invisible until the last meter. For a moment, the pulse is the only evidence the animal exists at all. The tension is heard before it is ever seen. Patience in this water is the first weapon, and the snake holds more of it than anything that walks the bank. Beyond the lagoon, the ground itself is being torn open. A giant anteater shuffles across open grassland at the drier forest margin, banner tails streaming behind it, foreclaws curled inward so the long, digging hooks never touch the earth. It rips into a termite mound and unspools a tongue past 50 centimeters, working it through the galleries faster than the soldiers can answer. The animal looks ancient and unbothered, and it is also fragile. It specializes so completely in ants and termites that its presence signals a healthy invertebrate base beneath the whole system. And that same narrow life leaves it acutely exposed to grass fires and to the trucks that run the region's dirt roads. A flash of cobalt lifts the eye into the canopy. A pair of hyacinth macaws wheels to a hollow high in a manduvi tree, the soft-wooded species whose trunk cavities the birds depend on almost entirely for nesting. This is the largest flying parrot in the world, a meter from head to tail, cracking hard palm nuts in a beak built precisely for the work. Within living memory, the species was driven toward collapse by the cage bird trade and the loss of nesting forest, until targeted nest box and protection programs turned the decline back. And the pairs that cross the gallery forest today are quiet proof that this system, given the chance, can heal. The macaws lift off across the grassland, where a tall shape wades belly deep. The marsh deer, South America's largest deer, moves through floating vegetation on splayed hooves that spread under its weight and keep it from sinking into the soft mud, browsing the aquatic plants that only the flood makes reachable. Its whole body reads as an argument shaped by water. Around it, the wetland feeds. Pacu fish nose up into the submerged trees to take fallen fruit, and the rolling calls of black howler monkeys carry across the dawn canopy. The deer lifts its head, water streaming from its muzzle, and listens to a forest that is far busier than it looks. The snake is one hunter of many. The river holds the rest. On a river island near the Bolivian border, where the upper Paraguay splits into a tangle of channels, First Light finds a camera trap housing strapped to a riverside trunk and a biologist crouched over a laptop in a moored boat. This is the Tayama Ecological Station, a protected island reserve where, only in the past 15 years, researchers have filmed something field science had long suspected and rarely caught. Jaguars swimming open water and taking caiman directly in the current at among the highest densities of the cat ever recorded anywhere on Earth. The work here follows a tradition set by Mario Haberfeld, who founded the On Safari project in 2011 to study the Pantanal's jaguars and return rescued cats to the wild. Onça being the Portuguese word for the animal and the root of the project's name. The biologist scrolls back through a single night of captures and counts, along one short stretch of bank, 3 separate jaguars. The frame freezes on a daytime capture of a cat stepping down into the water. The cat moves low along the mud, shoulders rolling, and slides into the brown current without hesitation, toward a caiman basking on a half-sunk log. This is the jaguar, and the animals of the Pantanal are the largest of their kind, heavier by as much as a third than the jaguars of the forests to the north, built precisely for this water. Where most cats refuse deep water, these enter it willingly and swim with only the crown of the head breaking the surface, and they have turned the yacare caiman from an occasional danger into a staple of the diet. Why a cat would hunt an armored reptile in its own element is answered entirely by anatomy. The jaguar carries the highest bite force of any big cat relative to its size, and rather than clamping the throat the way a lion or a tiger does, it drives its canines down through the bony plates of the caiman's skull. A single closing bite that ends the contest before the reptile can roll or reach the depth. In the core of this reserve, the cats range at roughly 6 to 7 for every 100 square kilometers, a concentration found nowhere else, and a hunting bank here is rarely the property of one animal alone. The kill made, the cat drags the caiman ashore, and the river gives up its quiet. After dark, the same margin passes to a smaller hunter. The ocelot, no heavier than a mid-sized dog and marked in its own chains of rosettes, works the forest floor and the shallows for the prey the larger cat will not trouble to chase. The rodents, and young caiman and fish and roosting birds that move once the sun is down. It hunts by night where the jaguar hunts the cooler edges of the day, and it takes prey a fraction of the jaguar's size, so the two cross the same ground without ever reaching for the same meal. Back from the water, on the drier ground beyond the gallery forest, a puma holds the third share of the bank. Long-bodied and tawny, it keeps to the grassland fringe and the wooded rises the jaguar visits less often, taking deer, peccary, and smaller mammals on solid footing rather than in the current. Where the jaguar owns the waterline, the puma owns the dry margin, and the two divide the same country by the ground they prefer to kill on. Three cats, one floodplain, and almost no open war between them, because each has been shaped to a different size of prey, a different hour, a different reach of the bank. The guild holds because it is partitioned, and that partition is the reason the Pantanal can carry more cats than any other place of its kind. They divide the spoils today. Once, men came for the spoils and took them by the boatload for skins. The Rio Cuiaba runs brown and broad through the southern Pantanal, the artery the whole floodplain leans toward, and for most of the 20th century it carried far more than water. Its banks lie quiet in the early light now, lined with basking caiman and crossed by the occasional drifting tour boat. But the river remembers a louder trade, and the calm of the present rests directly on the violence of the decades behind it. From the 1940s into the 1960s, these same banks were worked after dark. Hunters poled the shallows by lamplight, and the beam that froze a yacare caiman in place marked it for the skinning knife. The soft belly hide was stripped, salted, bundled, and floated downriver to traders who moved it on toward the tanneries of 3 continents, where it became watch bands, shoes, and handbags. At the height of the slaughter, conservative estimates put the toll between 1 and several million caiman skins leaving the Pantanal every year, sustained across decades, among the largest commercial killings of any crocodilian recorded anywhere on Earth. The spotted cats fed the same boats. Through the 1960s, the global fashion for fur drove a parallel trade in jaguar and ocelot pelts, tens of thousands of spotted skins moving out of the Pantanal and the Amazon each year. And the rosettes that make those cats unmistakable became, for a generation of hunters, the only reason to raise a rifle. The pattern that was their signature was also their sentence. The law arrived before the killing stopped. In 1967, Brazil passed the Lei de Proteção à Fauna, the wildlife protection law, which outlawed the commercial hunting of the country's wild animals outright. Yet a statute on paper was not a statute on the river, and through the 1970s and into the 1980s, the night hunts went on. The hides now smuggled where they had once moved in the open, the trade slipping the law faster than the law could close on it. International controls under the CITES Treaty from 1975 shut the export markets only slowly, country by country. Not until Brazil stood up its federal environmental agency, IBAMA, in 1989, and enforcement at last reached the remote channels, did the skinning boats fall quiet for good. A ranger eases a patrol skiff along the Cuiabá after dark, a spotlight sweeping the banks where, 2 generations ago, the same kind of beam would have pinned a caiman for the knife. The light travels the mud and finds only the low red eye shine of animals left, at last, to grow old. Some of the older men who guide researchers and visitors along this river once hunted it, and the skinning knife has given way in their hands to the camera and the outboard tiller. The same eyes that once read the water for a kill, now reading it for a sighting. The recovery that followed is the reason everything else in this story can stand. Freed of the trade, the Jaguar caiman climbed back to something near 10 million across the basin, the densest population of crocodilians anywhere on the planet. And that restored multitude is the very prey base the jaguars work along these banks today. The shadow became the foundation. At dusk, the water begins to speak. A low, rolling chorus rises off the mud, uncountable throats answering the falling light. The sound of a river that was nearly emptied and is now full past reckoning. Follow that sound away from the channel and out across the open grassland, and the whole pantry of the Pantanal comes into view. Out on the open floodplain, in the wet grassland the receding forest gives way to, a family of capybara grazes belly deep at the edge of a lagoon, blunt-faced and unhurried. This is the capybara, the largest rodent on Earth, a grown adult standing knee-high and weighing 60 to 65 kilograms, living in groups along every slow margin of water in the Pantanal. It feeds on grasses and aquatic plants and asks for nothing the floodplain does not already grow, and in doing so, it becomes the single most important meal on the whole predator bench, the prey the jaguar takes most often, the body the anaconda waits at the waterline to seize, the warm-blooded staple that turns grass into cats. Born in the wet season when the grass stands highest, the young grow quickly into the same role their parents fill. Where the capybara is abundant, the predators are abundant. The rodent is the floor the whole structure stands on. The water itself is paved with the second pillar of the food web. The Jaguar caiman lies in rafts along every bank, and across the basin the population is estimated near 10 million animals, the densest gathering of crocodilians anywhere on the planet. It is predator and prey at once. By night, it takes fish, snapping piranha and eel from the shrinking shallows and holding the fish populations in balance, and by day it becomes the jaguars' chosen quarry. Most never reach the size that would make them safe, and the great majority feed something larger before they do. After dark, a researcher idles a boat along a channel and sweeps a spotlight across the water, counting the points of red eyeshine that answer the beam, each pair a single animal, the count scaled across the basin into the millions that no one could ever tally one by one. Above the same shallows stands the tallest flying bird of the Americas. The jabiru, black-headed and white-bodied, with a heavy upturned bill, reaches nearly 1.5 meters in height and spreads its wings to almost 2.5 meters, building stick nests the size of a small raft in the tallest trees. Pairs return to the same nest for years, adding to it each season until it stands taller than a person. As the water drops, the birds gather at the shrinking pools to spear the fish and eels concentrated there, and a colony of jabiru working a falling lagoon is one of the surest signs that the floodplain beneath is still feeding what depends on it. Around them, the grassland carries the rest of the multitude. Southern screamers calling from the wet meadows, great arrears striding the open ground in loose bands, a crab-eating fox crossing a track at dusk, a pampas deer lifting its head from the grass. All of it is held open by the water. The pantry is full now, in the wet months, when the flood spreads the prey across 1,000 channels and no hunter can corner it. But the water is already falling, and the question the year asks next is a plain one, where any of this can go when the floodplain draws shut around it. The answer begins on a road. The Transpantanera runs straight south into the heart of the wetland, a raised dirt causeway of some 147 kilometers, carried over the floodplain on more than 100 wooden bridges, built through the 1970s and never finished to its intended end. Its embankment dams the sheet of floodwater into a chain of long pools at every culvert, and when the dry season comes and the rivers fall from May into October, those culvert lagoons become the last water for miles. A biologist walks the shoulder at dawn to check a camera trap fixed at one such pool, and the memory card holds a parade. Every animal for kilometers around has come to the same shrinking margin to drink. This is the turn the whole year pivots on. In the flood, the prey is scattered safe across the spread water. In the drought, it is pressed into a handful of pools, and the predators that struggled to corner anything in the wet months now find the work half done for them. Fish that filled 100 channels in the flood are crowded into pools a boat could cross in seconds. The dry season does not feed the bench by kindness, it feeds it by compression. A band of collared peccary comes down to a drying lagoon in the heat of the afternoon, a dozen animals moving as one nervous body, grizzled and pig-like and quick to wheel. They travel and feed in herds for exactly this reason, that many eyes find the cat before the cat finds the herd. Yet the dry season strips away their advantage, funneling them to the few pools the jaguar and the puma already know by heart. A herd that scatters in the open has nowhere here to scatter to. At dusk, a different shape crosses the open ground on improbably long black legs. The maned wolf, the tallest wild canid of South America, neither true wolf nor fox, moves alone through the tall grass its stilted build was made to see over, hunting small mammals and birds, and taking the fruit of the grassland shrubs as readily as meat. It keeps to the drier savanna at the floodplain's edge, and in the dry months it ranges wide and quiet between the shrinking lagoons, a solitary hunter where the cats hunt the water. After full dark, the largest land mammal of South America comes to drink. The lowland tapir, a heavy, round-backed browser weighing up to 250 kilograms, moves down an old trail to the water with its short, prehensile snout testing the air, an animal little changed in shape across millions of years. It feeds on leaves and fruit and shoots, dispersing seeds along every trail it walks, a gardener of the forest by night. It comes to the same trapped pools as everything else, and at the water it is most exposed, for the jaguar knows these trails as well as the tapir does. Around the last pools, the dry season gathers everything at once. Roseate spoonbills sweeping the mud in pink ranks, golden dorado packed into the falling channels until the water seems to boil with them. And as the lagoons close, the cats follow the prey inward, toward the deeper channels that never run dry, where the rivers braid together and the densest gathering of jaguars on earth is waiting, each one already known by name. Where the Cuiaba gathers its tributaries in the southern Pantanal, the water braids into a maze of channels the maps call the Three Brothers, set inside a reserve whose name, Encontro das Aguas, marks the meeting of the waters. In 2004, Brazil set this confluence aside as a state park. 108,960 hectares of river and gallery forest protected for a single reason above all others. It holds the densest jaguars on Earth. The core, where roughly 6 to 7 cats range across every 100 square kilometers of bank. Here the cats are not anonymous. Each jaguar carries a pattern of rosettes as individual as a fingerprint. No two animals marked alike. And over the past 2 decades, the guides and researchers of the Jaguar Identification Project have photographed flank after flank and assembled a catalogue of hundreds of named individuals, logging their ranges, their litters, and their rivalries season by season. On a boat drifting a quiet channel, a guide lifts a long lens to a cat resting in the shade, frames the rosettes along its shoulder, and matches the photograph against the catalogue within seconds, reading a name off a coat the way a librarian reads a spine. The jaguar that was once a pelt is now a record. One of those records is a male the rivers know as Osado. He was photographed and tracked here long before the fires of 2020 swept the Pantanal and burned close to a third of the wetland. And when the flames closed over these channels, he was found with his paws scorched raw. Veterinarians treated the burns over weeks, and months later he was released with a GPS collar that traced him straight back to the same stretches of water he had always walked. To know a cat by name is to be able to count its return, and Osado came home. The jaguars do not hold these waters alone. A family of giant otters works a channel of the Three Brothers in a surfacing, chattering line. the largest otter on Earth at nearly 1.8 meters from nose to tail, hunting fish in coordinated packs and raising their pups in dens dug into the bank. They are loud where the cats are silent, and they are not easily moved. When a jaguar drifts too near the den, the whole family will rise together at the surface, barking in a single front, and on occasion hold the stare until the cat thinks better of the approach and turns away. Even at the top of the bench, nothing here goes unchallenged. The change has reached the ledgers as well. A 2017 study of the northern Pantanal estimated that jaguar tourism brings in several $1 million a year along these rivers, many times the value of the cattle lost to the same cats. And for the ranches that once tolerated hunters, a living jaguar that visitors cross the world to photograph is now worth far more than a dead one. The economics that nearly emptied the banks now help keep them full. What does it mean for a place to know its predators by name? On these rivers, the answer is plain enough. Every dawn, a biologist scrolls back through a night of camera trap captures and reads the bank like a register. 3 separate jaguars on one short stretch, each rosette pattern known, each animal counted, each return confirmed. The same banks that the skinning boats once emptied now carry more cats than any one observer can follow at once, and the record grows longer every season. A half-century after the last hide went downriver, the rosettes are catalogued instead of sold, and the meeting of the waters holds the densest gathering of these cats left anywhere on the planet. The river that was emptied is full again, and it is full of jaguars. Before dawn on the Transpantanera, the camera trap card still holds its 3 jaguars on one bank, and far to the north, a green anaconda lies where it has lain for hours, only its nostrils above the tannin water. The skinning boats are 50 years gone. At dusk, the caiman chorus rolls off the mud, full past counting. 10 million caimans. Six cats to every 100 kilometers. One floodplain that drowns and dries and feeds them all. Already, on the highlands far upriver, the rain has begun the water that will flood these banks again. The dark water holds still and waits.